We begin our journey today with a reading from Proverbs 8:22-36. This passage, a poetic speech of wisdom herself, has been treasured by many throughout the ages. Listen closely, and you might hear not just a personification of wisdom, but a voice that resonates with the teachings and persona of Jesus Christ. The Lord possessed me from the beginning, before He created anything else. I was appointed in ages past, at the very first, before the earth began. I was brought forth before the oceans were created, before the springs bubbled forth their waters. Before the mountains were formed, before the hills I was there, before He had made the earth and fields and the first handfuls of soil. I was there when He established the heavens, when He drew the horizon on the oceans. I was there when He set the clouds above, when He established springs deep in the earth. I was there when He set the limits of the seas, so they would not spread beyond their boundaries. And when He marked off the earth's foundations, I was the architect at His side. I was His constant delight, rejoicing always in His presence. And how happy I was with the world He created, how I rejoiced with the human family. And so, my children, listen to me, for all who follow my ways are joyful. Listen to my instruction and be wise. Don't ignore it. Joyful are those who listen to me, watching for me daily at my gates, waiting for me outside my home. For whoever finds me finds life and receives favor from the Lord. But those who miss me injure themselves. All who hate me love death. Now that we've set our foundation, it's time to explore what wisdom truly means. In the book of Proverbs, we find a wealth of insight about wisdom. It lays out several key characteristics that help us understand its depth and importance. Firstly, we encounter the concept of fear of the Lord. This is not about being afraid, but rather about respect, reverence, and awe for our Creator. Proverbs chapter 1, verse 7 tells us, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction." This suggests that a healthy respect for God is the starting point for all wisdom. Next, we come across understanding. Proverbs 4 verse 7 states, "Wisdom is the principal thing, therefore get wisdom, and with all thy getting, get understanding." This emphasizes that wisdom is not just about knowledge, but about understanding how to apply that knowledge rightly. It's about discerning the right path and making good decisions. Then there's discretion. The 8th chapter of Proverbs verse 12 says, "I, wisdom, dwell with prudence and find out knowledge of witty inventions." Discretion is about knowing when to speak and when to listen, when to act and when to wait. It's the ability to choose the right course of action at the right time. There are many more characteristics of wisdom that we could delve into, such as righteousness, justice, and truth. They all weave together to form a rich tapestry that depicts wisdom in all its complexity and beauty. But here's the amazing part. These characteristics are not just abstract concepts. They are embodied perfectly in the person of Jesus Christ. He is our ultimate example of wisdom. His life, teachings, and actions exemplify these traits and more. These characteristics, while valuable on their own, gain even greater significance when we understand them as reflections of Jesus Christ, our ultimate wisdom. As we've explored the characteristics of wisdom, we've seen a clear reflection of someone we know and love. This reflection is none other than Jesus Christ. He is the embodiment of wisdom as described throughout the book of Proverbs. He is the one who speaks truth, loves righteousness, and hates wickedness. He is the one who gives counsel, understanding, and strength. He is the one who was there at the beginning, at the creation of the world, delighting in mankind. Now let's turn our attention to the New Testament, specifically Corinthians 1:30. The Apostle Paul writes, "But of Him you are in Christ Jesus, who became for us wisdom from God." This passage confirms what we've been discussing, that Jesus Christ is indeed our wisdom. Remember, as we seek wisdom, we are truly seeking to know Jesus Christ better. Listen to these words of the Apostle Paul writing to the Corinthians. "So where does this leave the philosophers, the scholars, and the world's brilliant debaters? God has made the wisdom of this world look foolish. Since God in His wisdom saw to it that the world would never know Him through human wisdom, He has used our foolish preaching to save those who believe. It is foolish to the Jews who ask for signs from heaven, and it is foolish to the Greeks who seek human wisdom. So when we preach that Christ was crucified, the Jews are offended, and the Gentiles say it's all nonsense. But to those called by God to salvation, both Jews and Gentiles, Christ is the power of God and the wisdom of God. This foolish plan of God is wiser than the wisest of human plans, and God's weakness is stronger than the greatest of human strength. Now think about it. How did God crush Satan's head? Was it by force? Was it by might? Was it by calling fire down from heaven? No, instead God crushed Satan's head by dying a painful death on the cross. For here is God's wisdom. The accuser was disarmed. We have been forgiven. God was glorified. Oh, how great are God's riches and wisdom and knowledge! How impossible it is for us to understand his decisions and his ways.